This is page number 11 in Math for Trades, multiplying and dividing whole numbers and decimals. So again, this is mostly review, but sometimes you forget some of the simpler things that you learned when you were in elementary school. So this is a chance for us to kind of go over this. So this is multiplication and division. Multiplication, like we have 407 times 9, pretty straightforward, where you multiply, let me get my little arrow here, this 7 times this 9, the 0 times 9, and the 4 times the 9. So each one of these digits is multiplied by the 9. If I had a 19 here, and again, I've got them lined up there, and it doesn't really matter that they're lined up on the right-hand side like this, but it's just looks cleaner that way. And that's the hard thing, is the addition and subtraction, everything has to be lined up. And when you've got your decimals, the decimals have to be lined up. And just trying to remember all of that stuff sometimes can get to be daunting. So let's do it times the 19. So see, what we're doing is we're taking the 407 times the 19, or actually, we're multiplying each one of these digits times the 9, and then each one of these times the 1. And that ends up being what we do. So 407 times the 9, 407 times the 1, but the 1 is in the tens position, so it's really 407 times 10. So then we add those answers up, and we're done. So let's go ahead and do that. Do that with red here. So we have 7 times 9, and that's 63. And if you remember when we did addition and subtraction, we said you only put one of the digits down. So even though you get 63, you put the last number down, and you carry the 6. Just like you did in the addition part of it. You put one number down and carry until you got to the end, and then you can put the whole number down. So 0 times 9 is 0. And then what we do with this number up here on top is we add it to whatever this times this is. When you multiply, the answer is called a product. So when I take 0 times 9, the product, or the answer, is 0, and then we add 6 to it. And then we do the same thing with the 4 and the 9. So 4 times 9 is 36, but because we're at the end, we're the furthest left we're going to go, we can write the whole 36 down, the 2-digit number there. If it's a 3-digit number, we could put that. So up until we get to the furthest over to the left we're going to go, we put 1 digit down. But then when we're here, 4 times 9, then we can put the whole 36 down. So we multiplied 407 times 9. Now we're going to do the 407 times the 1. And if you remember right, I'm going to do this in blue. We do 7 times 1, and we get 7. Notice I indented one place. And a lot of students will put a 0 in here, just as a placeholder, just so there's nothing there. So I take 7 times 1 because 7 times 1 is in the tens place. 7 times 10 is 70. So see what happened there? That's why we scooch the 7 over 1, is to make room for this being in the tens place. So even if you don't need the theory, there it is anyway. Now we multiply 0 times 1, and then we multiply 4 times 1. And you've got to keep those in real nice straight columns, or you're going to get the wrong answer. You're going to add the wrong numbers. Now we're going to add those. 42, we're going to carry the 4. 10, we're going to carry the 1. And now we don't have to carry anything, but there's nothing to carry. So we end up with 8,023 when we multiply by 19. Okay, let's look at the 1.73 times 8. Now in the last section, I mentioned that whenever you are multiplying adding or subtracting, you've got to keep the decimals on top of each other, lined up. Multiplication doesn't matter. You don't even care about the decimals until the answer. So what we're going to do, we're going to multiply the 3 times 8 and get 24, carry the 2. 7 times 8 is 56, add the 2, carry the 5. 1 times 8 is 8. And we end up getting 1 times 8 is 8 plus 5 is 13. So I have 1384. Now I've got to figure out where to put this doggone decimal here. So the way you figure out where to put the decimal is you count how many decimal places you're from the right. So I'm 2 decimal places over, so it's going to be 2 decimal places over there. So it's going to be right there. Now, one of the things that happens, I'm going to throw another problem in here real quick before we do the division. What if I have 1.73 times 2.24? Okay, so that's going to be a little trickier. So we do our multiplication like we did before, but now what we're going to do is we're going to multiply 1.73 times 4, then the whole thing times 2, and then the whole thing times this 2. So we're going to have 3 levels here. So let's go ahead and do this in blue. So we got 3 times 4 is 12, carry the 1. 7 times 4 is 28, 29, because we're going to add the 1 to it, carry the 2. 1 times 4 is 4 and add the 2. Now we're going to multiply the 1.73 times this 2. Again, we don't care about the decimals. 3 times 2 is 6. 7 times 2 is 14. And we're going to carry the 1. 1 times 2 is 2. This 1 times 2 is 2 plus this one. So that's going to give me 3. Now I've got kind of a mess here, so let's see if I can do it with just the arrow. So I've done the 1.73 times the 4. I've done it times the 2. Now I'm going to do it times this 2. So again, 3 times 2 is 6. Let's do it in green. And again, I'm going to come over another space. So notice I came over a space from here to here and another one from here to here. So let's keep going. So this 3 times this 2 is 6. Now we're going to do this 7 times this 2, which is 14. And we're going to carry the 1. And then this 1 times 2 is 2. We're going to add the 1 and have 3. This is why it's so important to keep all of your columns lined up so you don't add the wrong numbers together. Some students use graph paper so that it keeps everything lined up. All right, so we're going to add this 2 to nothing. 9 and 6 is 15. Oh, that doesn't look very nice. We're going to carry the 1. 6 and 4 is 10. Add that 1 is 11. Add this 6 right here. It's going to give me 17. Going to carry the 1. This is going to give me 8. And I've got a 3. All right, now this is the important part as far as the decimal. There's a decimal there and there's a decimal there. Count how many times you came across on each row of numbers. So I came over twice here and I came over twice here. So 2 and 2 is 4. So that means on my answer, I'm going to go over 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces and get 3.8752. So that's how you determine where your decimals go in a multiplication problem. When you ignore the decimal until you're all done, and then you count how many decimals you went over with each number. So here I went over here 2, here I went over 2, add those 2 together, I got 4, so I go over 4 decimal places. If this was a 2 decimal places, and let's say I only went over 1 here, 2 plus 1 is 3. That means I would have only gone over 3 decimal places. So remember that. All right, let's do some division. This isn't a very long division problem, but most of you hate division problems. I know I always did. They just took so much time. So let's get rid of a bunch of this nonsense so we have a little bit more room. So if you remember, you take this number into this number. All right, so before we do that, we're going to move the decimal place straight up from where it is. And if we move the decimal place straight up like that, we can completely ignore it now because it's where it's supposed to be in the answer. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to take this 6 and divide it into 1. It doesn't go into 1. So we're going to take the 6 and divide it into 18. And it does go into 18, and it goes into 18 3 times. Notice I put the 3 above the 8 and the 18. Since I divided 6 into 18, it goes above the number furthest to the right of what it went into. Now I multiply 3 times 6, and I get 18. Then I subtract. In division, you always subtract below the division sign. So 18 minus 18 is 0. How many times does 6 go into 0? It doesn't. So we're going to bring down this 3. So we can bring down one number at a time. So how many times does 6 go into 3? It also goes 0. But that's okay. So now 0 times 6 is going to be 0. And again, we're going to subtract. 3 minus 0 is 3, and we're going to bring down my next number. 6 now goes into 30 5 times. And that's where I end. 5 times 6 is 30, and I have 0. So once I'm done, I don't have anything here. I'm just going to be finished there. 3.05 is going to be my answer. So just some simple ideas on how to do the multiplying and dividing, and hopefully that'll help you in your homework.